and that is Bo Dallas. There's a lot of stories out on the web this week, on the dirt sheets and all that kind of stuff, that WWE has allegedly already given up on Bo Dallas. They've already given up on him. And I think we could kind of tell that because they had him lose to R-Truth a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago maybe it was now, on Raw. He had this undefeated streak going that had so much comedic potential. And they killed it. They killed it and had R-Truth be the one to beat him. R-Truth, who has not done anything significant, I think, since he and Miz teamed up against The Rock and John Cena at Survivor Series in 2011. And they did it seemingly to start showing a meaner side of Bo Dallas. He's got a real mean streak in him. I think they had a rematch on SmackDown that week, and I think, I don't remember if Truth beat him again. Maybe it was a DQ, but like Bo Dallas beat him down, and I thought to myself, you know what, I still hate that they broke the streak. There was so much potential there, but okay, maybe they're finally going to take the character in a more serious direction and move him, into an actual feud, an actual program. Where has Bo Dallas been since then? It's kind of similar to the Big E, Xavier Woods, Kofi stuff, right? Similar to that, where it's almost like they started in a certain direction, but now we haven't even seen the guy. Maybe he's been on SmackDown. SmackDown doesn't count. In the eyes of most people, SmackDown does not count. It is the B show. I would argue that SmackDown is maybe the C show. I watch NXT. I don't watch SmackDown. But Raw is the A show. Raw is what matters. And the guy hasn't even been on Raw. So it was never about giving him a mean streak. It was never about any of that. It was about, we've given up on the guy. Yeah, I could believe that. I could believe that those rumors were probably true. Because I saw it with my own two eyes. They ended the streak for no reason and had nothing for him. And now he's not even on the A show. He's not even showing up on television. And it pisses me off. Because no matter what you thought of the Bo Dallas character, just like Tyler Breeze, if Tyler Breeze is ever promoted to the main roster, there's going to be a lot of people who look at the guy and they probably shake their heads and think, I don't get it. What's the big deal? Hopefully when they see him working, they'll understand at least some of the love for the guy. He's actually really good. But the problem is, I don't want to see Tyler Breeze brought up to the main roster if Bo Dallas is an example of what's in his future. And that goes for a lot of the great guys. Sami Zayn is a guy who I think is probably earmarked for the main roster sooner rather than later. I would like to think that he's good enough where they can't possibly give up on Sami Zayn. But then I say to myself, can they? Of course they can. They've given up on guys before who were good because they don't have any patience. They have no patience. They have zero patience at all. Why would you give up that quickly on a guy? Why wouldn't you just ride the wave of that undefeated streak? Let Bo Dallas hit 22-0 and start gloating on television that, hey, I beat The Undertaker's streak. The Undertaker only went 21-0 before he lost. I went 22-0. And then, hopefully at that point, if you want to break the streak, that's fine. I mean, my idea for Sami Zayn to bring him up to the main roster was that he should have been the one to break the streak. Here's this guy being brought up that a lot of people probably don't know. Not everybody's going to know who Sami Zayn is. And Bo Dallas can be all like, oh, hey, little buddy, how you doing? I see you're getting your first shot here on Raw, Good luck. And, Sami Zayn, ever the underdog, gets a win. People go crazy. They love it. They cheer for him. And Bo Dallas can't believe it. And he attacks him. And at least it gives Bo Dallas now something to do, and it gives Sami Zayn something to do right out of the gate. You got these two NXT guys now who are going to feud on the main roster, and you go from there. I mean, that's just an idea. I'm just spitballing here, but to hear that they've already given up on Bo Dallas it's infuriating. It is absolutely infuriating to me, because I thought, foolish of me, that the reports of Triple H not wanting to bring anybody up from NXT unless there were long-term plans in place for them, as naive, I guess, as I allowed myself to be, I believed that when I read that. I believed that was the case, because NXT is Triple H's baby. I'm sure Triple H wants to see these guys succeed. You think a guy like Triple H, who oversees developmental, wants Bo Dallas, who was the NXT champion for how many days? They bantered about how 200 days, 300 days as the NXT champion. And this guy comes to the main roster, and now they've given up on him, supposedly. That reflects poorly on Triple H. I'm sure it's not his decision. The buck stops with Vince McMahon. And this guy had something. Even if you're not a big Bo Dallas fan, you could... He doesn't have to be a world heavyweight champion, for crying out loud. He has to be a solid mid-card act. If he's a comedy act, then make him a comedy act. If that's what he's good at, then fine. But to hear that they've already given up on the guy, it's been 2 months. It's been 2 months. What are you giving up so quickly for? Do you know how many guys that you and I, as wrestling fans back in the 90s and the 80s, some of you go back even further than that, can you imagine how many of those guys who went on to be legends and Hall of Famers would never have made it to that level? We wouldn't even know their names today if they came up today and they were given up on as quickly as these guys are being given up on now. I mean, just think about it. Think about all those guys that have gone on to be some of the biggest names in the history of this industry. And it never would have happened had they come up now, or had the mentality been the same then, where it was all about television, ratings, and everything else, and if the guy didn't click and didn't get over within 3 weeks, into the scrap heap you go. It's kind of like now with what they look for when they bring guys into developmental. You think about guys like Dusty Rhodes back in the day, or a Harley Race, even a Ric Flair. Do you really honestly think those guys would have gotten a second look had they tried out now to be, a wrestler in WWE? Of course not. Or even if they were. If they were brought in, they never would have made it past a certain level. The mentality has changed so much, and I think it's destructive, is what it is. So I look at a guy like Tyler Breeze, who I rave about every week. I'm into the character. I think he's a good wrestler. I'm into the act. I love it. It's one of my favorite parts of the show. And the goal for NXT is always, can't wait to see what they have in store for these guys when they make it to the main roster. Making it to the main roster is like the holy grail, right? And I'm sure these guys want to get to the main roster because they want to be on TV, they want to make more money, they want to succeed. They're very ambitious. I'm sure that's how they feel. As a fan, I look at this and I say to myself, I don't want Tyler Breeze on Raw or SmackDown. I want him to stay right where he is. I want Sami Zayn to stay right where he is. And with all these guys they're bringing in now, Kevin Steen, Devitt, Kenta, and the guys they have with Breeze and Neville and Zayn, and some of the tag teams, Kaz and Enzo, they have it's like a third brand that they've developed now. I almost want them to just stay right where they are and just enjoy NXT as a brand all unto itself. Because it's obvious to me that when they bring these guys up, for every 5 guys they bring up, 1 or 2 are going to make it. And it's not because these guys aren't any good. 1 or 2 will make it in spite of the shit that they have to go up against when they make it to the main roster. And I don't know why it has to be that way. These guys work for you. They belong to you. They're signed to a contract for your company. You are sabotaging these people. For what purpose? Please, someone explain that to me. It just doesn't make any sense. It just does not make any sense.